You are now entering the horror sanctum.
Hello and welcome back to the Horror Sanctum podcast. I'm Jay with John and TJ. And this week we are joined by the lovely and talented actress, Miss Robin Sidney, who has worked on numerous television series and films, including the Puppet Master, Evil Bong, and Gingerdead Man franchises, just to name a few. Robin, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the Sanctum.
Thank you for having me. I'm like so excited. Woohoo!
And we are more than excited to have you. Like I said before we started recording, we just watched the thing with Joe Bob is I try to save them because when they're gone, they're gone. So I haven't watched your episode yet. I just watched it yesterday, and like you were one of the most energetic and fun guests he's had on there. So it was a lot of fun, and I love Gingerdead Man anyway. So it was a win-win for me. Also, congrats on your recent nuptials. You married the incomparable Charles Band back in December. We, of course, here at the show are huge fans. I actually just read his book last year, and no joke, it's one of my favorite books I've ever read. And I don't know if this is funny. It's funny to me. I was a huge The Calling fan, and I had
So was I.
clue that was his son. No clue. So when I got to that part, I dropped the book. I went to get my wife. I'm like, you are not going to believe what I just read in this book. That blew my mind. And so that was awesome. But we're not here to talk about him. We're here to talk about you. So let's go ahead and jump into that. And TJ, you can start us off.
All right. Yes, it is wonderful to be here with the lovely Miss Robin Sidney, who I affectionately like to call the Scream Queen of Full Moon Pictures. And yes, since Jay talked about Gingerdead Man, Gingerdead Man's one of my favorite full moon pictures. I saw it when it first come out, about 2005, 2006. And I'm an old school Gary Busey fan. And when I heard the story that it was kind of like on a whim, I think I read that Charles had just offered him like 25K or something to be in a movie for a day and didn't think he'd say yes. And then he said yes. And so had to pull it together. And it was a great use of Gary. And basically it's the child's play with a gingerbread man, basically.
Yeah.
And the longevity they've been able to get with that franchise, and then to kind of intertwine it with the Evil Bong franchise to come along about the same time. And you in both of those original movies. Tell us how you got started with Full Moon. I know you did some smaller acting roles and some TV stuff before that.
Yeah, it was I got an audition and for the Gingerdead Man. I'm like, this is so funny and random. And I went to the audition and I remember I was super, super nervous. I don't know why, but I was. And then when I got in, he's like, okay, so you're going to have a Southern accent. I was like, oh, no problem. I had no idea that I was going to be Southern. And then we start and literally the phone rings during the audition. And the guy's like, oh, hold on. Let me go get the phone. So I'm like, oh, okay. And it was almost like the best thing ever because then my nerves like stopped all of a sudden. I was like comfortable and stuff. And then go back again, like to the beginning of the scene. And then the phone rings again. And he's like, hold on a minute. And he goes. And then by the third time we go, it's ringing. He's like, oh, I'll just let it go. So literally my first audition, the phone is ringing and like all this experience. I'm like, I am definitely not getting this. It was a bad audition. And I get a call back and I actually get multiple callbacks. And so I had booked The Lost first. I filmed it after the Gingerdead Man. So I was like prepping The Lost. I was like, it would be so funny if I got this random Gingerdead Man movie, and they kept just bringing me back, and then I remember reading the final audition. I have brown hair, but everybody they had in there was blonde. I was like, oh, definitely not getting it. There was this guy in the waiting room, and we were just kind of running lines. It turned out he ended up booking it. I ended up booking it, and they gave me the script on like a Sunday, and they're like, oh yeah, we're starting tomorrow on Monday. I was like, oh, like cram lines in my head. So it was super fun. That was like the first feature film, yeah, because I had done other projects and like TV shows and everything. So that was the first one I filmed.
I think, was it the first thing you ever did was kind of a bit part on the Andy Dick show?
I did do the Andy Dick
I
show.
feel like he's such a character. You must have a story there.
Oh yeah, I have so many stories. Like I feel like him and Gary Busey are like cousins or something. I swear. But like,
They go to the same therapist, I think.
yeah, he was super intense and just like wanted to be in his trailer, and I barely even got to know him. He's like, "Ruh," and then just like in his trailer, so much of the time. But I remember in one of the scenes he had to be on my shoulder, like because I was like the devil or something, and he was like, I don't know, it was like, what would Andy Dick do or something like this, and so I didn't actually have to be in the scene with him when he was on my shoulder because it was like, later. But then I did another one where I had to do the scene with him. But I remember I had to get like red eyes, like contact lenses fitted for my eyeballs. But yeah, Andy Dick was crazy for sure. Gary Busey takes the cake, no pun intended. But like, yeah, Andy Dick was intense for sure.
And that leads into my next question. You
Yeah.
must have at least one good Gary Busey story.
yeah.
He's quite the intense character. I've met him at some cons before, and him and his son Jake are both kind of intense.
Yeah, I've never met his son, but he's just definitely the scariest guy I've ever met in my life. And I had to work with him for one day. And I remember when we got to set, first they basically Charlie was like, my mom came to set with me. And basically Charlie's like, you warning us, like, stay away from him. He's got a reputation, like just do your thing, whatever. And he wanted to get all his stuff out of the way in the morning, just in case Gary like went crazy and like left or something. And I remember Gary's like, oh, this script like sucks. I gotta make it up. And he was like, got the teardrops and stuff. And then every take he did was completely different from the next. And then we broke for lunch, and I'm going, this way, and Gary's like calling my name, like Robin, like come to the trail. I pretend like I don't hear him, just like walk, get my food, and then come back, and he's like, come in my trailer, like, and he's like literally grabbing me, like in his trailer like this. My mom is pulling me, like we're literally playing tug of war, like this, and he's like, I'm gonna report you to the director and the producer. I'm like, that's totally fine because he told me to stay out of his trailer. So then basically Charlie comes, he's like, it's okay, like he just wants to talk about the character, blah blah blah. So I go up into the trailer, Gary goes up into the trailer, Charlie is going up into the trailer, Gary pushes him out of down the stairs, locks the door, and I'm inside, and I'm like freaking out. I literally have my fists up like this, and it's like looks like a bedroom. It's like his bed there's a kitchen and like a little dining room table thing. So I'm like in the dining room table, like full on like fist bump. He's like, what's up with your mom? I'm like, oh, my mom, like in the character. He's like, no, your mom. I was like, aren't we talking about the characters? He was like, I was like, oh yeah. He's like, I'm feeling like doing an exercise. And I was like, oh, okay. It's like freaking out. He's like, ooh, like this crazy exercise. Now I literally, because I was so scared, now this is so weird, I just start cry laughing because I'm trying not to laugh, but like just cry laughing. It sounds really bad outside. It looks bad. The trailer's like shaking. It's like, oh, like it sounds really bad outside. My mom apparently is like freaking out. And so they make up that they have to go to set. Like Charlie knocks on the door, like, oh, it's time to go to set, even though it wasn't time to go to set. And Gary walks out. He's fully sweaty. I have tears because of the cry laughing. And then Gary's like, nothing happened, nothing happened. And then basically right after that was when we filmed the opening scene of the Gingerdead Man. I did not have to act, zero. I just looked at him and I was so scared. I was like, stay away from me. I'm so glad I didn't have to be in love with him or something like that. And then basically the whole movie, like, is filmed with this puppet, right? So all his lines are like, do, do, do. So apparently Charlie was like freaking out about filming this because every line's different. And Gary walks in apparently with a guitar and he's like, feeling music. And they're like, oh my gosh. And then they're like, yeah, so he's like, how long do you think it's gonna be for today? Because I got a chick coming and I need to like whatever. And he's like, I don't know. How long do you think it's gonna take, Gary? He's like, oh well, I have to be out of here in an hour. And then like they're like, oh crap, And then basically like he does the page like boom, 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 perfect, perfect, perfect. And like clockwork, this chick apparently not the prettiest chick like shows up and like he's left. So it was definitely the craziest. I remember we did have to do a signing with him once. He was sitting next to me and I was like, but yeah, it
And
was
he and
definitely
did
scary.
he actually do all the voiceover for the Gingerdead Man in that first movie? Because I know they've gotten
And
somebody else to do it for the other ones.
I think, yeah, that was a smart decision to have the other ones not be Gary. But yeah, to my understanding, all of all of the Gingerdead Man in the first one is Gary's voice.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. And a great use of, I mean, just indie filmmaking 101.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that's a wild story. I'm sure being on set, that was no acting required, as you say,
Yeah, no.
cowering in the corner, crying.
Oh my gosh, this is so scary. Oh, like
So,
scary.
so how did that film end up parlaying into a professional relationship with Charles and doing
Yeah.
more Full Moon Pictures and kind of becoming the go-to girl for these franchises?
I mean, it was like so, and it was very like obviously we're married now, but it was very professional the whole time. Like he never did anything, Holly weird, just so everybody knows. But it was very professional. And so I think the next movie we did, I think was Evil Bong, but I don't remember the sequence.
I think so, yeah, because that was like the next year, I think,
Yeah, and that
2005
one,
and 2006.
yeah, and I didn't audition for that one. That was just like, here's the part, which happens oftentimes, even with the other horror movies I've done. It's like once you kind of get to know the director producer, then they're kind of like think of you for another movie. But yeah, I just kind of kept asking me, hey, do you want to do this part? I'm like, woohoo! Yeah, and the next one we're doing is Barbenheimer. So
Which I'm very
So,
excited for that. Tell us a little
um,
bit about your. Go ahead, Jay.
well, I was just gonna say one of my questions involved you auditioning. So since you just said it, I'm just gonna ask it real quick.
oh yeah.
One of my favorite Full Moon flicks is Trophy Heads, and you have a
Yeah.
very, very small role in that. So I was just curious for stuff like that. Is that
Yeah.
something where you see a script or you catch wind of it, you're like, I want to be in this, or is it something where Charles or the director comes to you like, hey, come be in this movie?
Yeah. Well, that I usually the parts come to me. It's rare where I'm like, I need to be in this, please. Like, can I please, please, please be in this? Um, but that one is pretty cool. So that was the audition in the audition, obviously. So he got like all the scream queens that he's been working with, all of them in that. So that was actually super fun. And then obviously, Stuart Gordon was the director that we got to work with in that, and that was just so much fun.
R.I.P. Stuart
But I
Gordon.
didn't.
Great
That was
director.
just an offer. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that
very
was super
good.
fun. Now Barbenheimer, on the other hand, I was like really wanting to be in. And so I actually, and because Ted Nicolau was directing it, so I knew that they were working on the script, and I was kind of like, hey Ted. Well, first Charlie had kind of hinted like, oh yeah, it'd be great to have you, Barbie and Kendra somehow in this movie. And I was like, sounds great. Then I talked to Ted. I was like, hey, so Charlie literally would love for me to be in this movie. And then they ended up writing a whole part. So I haven't read the script yet, which I'm really looking forward to reading. But we're shooting in April, so I'm really excited about that.
Oh
But I
wow,
think all the other ones just came as offers, except for that one.
that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about your. You have a continuing series in the Barbie and Kendra
Kendra.
series. Yeah, some of those are titled very interestingly. So I want to know more about this series.
Yeah, they're so much fun. Like we started at the beginning of the pandemic, basically shut down. Literally, the shutdown happened, and Charles was like, "I guess we're filming." Um, and I was too scared the first one, like to just go anywhere, so I did it on the phone. Literally, it was like all myself when I recorded the lines.
Because he made Corona Zombies like the
Zombies.
first
Yeah,
thing, right?
Corona Zombies, which won some film threat or some kind of award for like best movie or something.
I enjoyed that one. That was a fun flick, and I love Cody, like your
Oh yeah.
counterpart.
Yeah, I love Cody. She's amazing. She's so good to work with too, like so easy. But I think Billy Butler and Charlie got together and like, okay, this pandemic's happening. What do we do? How do we make a movie with, we need a day shoot. Like, how do we go about doing this? And then that they came up with that kind of like a Woody Allen style, and to have like the extra movies folded in. And so every time something big would happen, then Charlie would be like, okay, let's do the next Barbie and Kendra. But this one that we're just finished is super, super exciting. It's called Barbie and Kendra Crash Joe Bob's Drive-In. And that came about because Joe Bob has like a drive-in event where like fans come and like, do the little thing on the stage and like signings. It's super cool. And there's a whole drive-in movie theater. And he asked Charlie to come do a speechy thing like on the stage. And Charlie's like, well, instead of doing the speechy thing on the stage, can we just film a movie during your drive-in at the drive-in? Joe Bob's like, sure, do whatever you want. So it was so crazy because we're literally at this real drive-in. People, fans, everybody coming in while we're filming the movie. It was super loud. I'm sure we're gonna have to do lots of audio, like because they're singing crazy songs and doing all this stuff while we're, filming this thing. And so it's gonna be really fun though. I had a blast doing it, and we got to work with Joe Bob and Diana, and it was super fun. I'm
So
excited.
is it going to be a feature length or just kind of a short?
No, it is a feature length, probably a shorter feature length, but it's similar to the other ones where we're watching the movies, but in this time it's a drive-in movie. So Cody actually has a Harley. She drives a motorcycle, and she's in fact done a TV show where she drove it all the way to Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And so they're like, let's put this motorcycle in this movie. Now, I've never been on a motorcycle before. So we have to do these scenes, like only 20 minutes we filmed. I had like pulled muscle, like my whole like my side just from trying to hold on to this motorcycle. And so I don't know how that's going to look. It's probably Cody's going to be like her hair blowing the wind. I'm going to be like, like, I don't know. But it's so fun. It's just fun being like ditzy, and well, I don't really have to work really hard to do that part.
But a really good actress because you're not really ditzy at all, as
Oh,
some of your characters are, because you're actually a very talented businesswoman. And I've just learned this recently that was it you and your mother when you were pretty young created
yeah,
this company called Zorbits.
that's correct.
How
Yeah.
how old were you when you created this? And tell us a little bit about what all you do, because it's a
Yeah.
lot.
It's super fun. So we started from nothing, from $100 in our one-bedroom apartment when I was 19. And I don't want to date myself, but we've had our business for like 20 years. And it's been amazing. So we sell impulse products. So it's basically like under $10 retail. And literally, I didn't know anything. It was like no soliciting. I just walked in and, like, oh, do you want our products? And I feel like when I'm selling, it's like acting. Like I do feel like I'm acting, honestly. I'm like, hey, it's like improv, but it's super fun. And we sell all kinds of impulse products for kids. We have like squishy toys. And I just came back from the Vegas show. And yeah, so I do both that and acting at the same
What
time.
I think is cool, because I am a former school teacher and principal, and I worked a lot with special ed kids and stuff at different
Yes,
times. And you have a lot of like sensory
definitely.
toys and fidgets and different things like that for a variety
Absolutely.
of different kids, like on the spectrum or ADHD. How did you get into that market?
Yeah. So my sister's an occupational therapist.
Okay.
And yeah, and it was like one day it was actually our first toy. It's called Twiddle. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I just saw it. And I just drew it on this piece of paper. And then we got like a guy, it's called CAD. It turns into like a 3D model. So our first product was this fidget toy that you can make shapes. And it really has helped so many people. And that one won like the Brainchild Award and stuff. So then like we started expanding on that Twiddle program. So it's like very sensory. And I feel like most of our stuff is sensory because it's like they're quiet fidgets. And then obviously fidgets became really popular, obviously. So it kind of expanded into all, everybody. But it is interesting. And I feel, and we oftentimes will send it to my sister and she'll use it with her students. And yeah. which is really
That's really cool. And you also make jewelry that
Mhm.
has been worn and photographed with major A-listers like
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus and a number of other people I was seeing. How did
Yeah.
did you start with toys? Did you start with jewelry? What was the progression there?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we started with jewelry. Actually our first product is a feng shui luck charm. And that is still one of our best products. So we started in the adult like gift world and then moved into into kids, and we do both. So it started in adult jewelry, which I'm wearing one. And then moved into kids and both. But it's super fun. I have such a great time because I get to be creative, sell, and then act, and then it's definitely, I've always loved to sell. Even as a kid, I was like Girl Scout cookies, like knocking on everybody's door, you know? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I can tell you're a great salesperson.
I just have fun. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like it's like helping people, right? Find good stuff for their store.
Yeah.
so when you were little, were you much of a horror fan? Were you a theater kid? What kind of got you into acting, and were you the genre, I guess you could say?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's kind of split in two parts because I was so afraid of scary movies as a kid. Like, honestly, terrified. In
Mm.
fact, I didn't watch them because I watched The Exorcist once and I was so freaked out. It was like in a cabin in the woods. And every time she turned her head in a circle, I would like close my eyes. And then all the girls that were with me were screaming. So my imagination went psycho. And I was so afraid. I think I slept in my mom's bed like for 2 months or something. There was this picture on the wall of me, and it looked like her. And it literally freaked me out. And I remember I actually auditioned for The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and I almost booked it. I was like second choice.
Oh
And
wow,
I was like,
okay.
please, dear God, please don't give me this part. Like, please. I feel like I would have just been messed in the head or something. But I was so afraid of horror. And then I remember I got foot surgery, and I was like, I'm gonna use this time to get over my horror fears. And I just watched like a million horror movies like back to back to back to back when I was a teenager, and that allowed me to not be as freaked out. But I did start acting when I was 8, and I did like children's theater at first,
Mhm.
and it was like a professional children's group where we would like actually serve lunch, like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or whatever with the play. So you kind of do both. And Jessica Biel, she grew up with me and she went to my school. So I did like almost everything there is to do in Colorado, is where I grew up in Boulder. And lots, I mean, I played like the Virgin Mary. I did often Bible adventures. There was a lot of like religious stuff that I did there. That's like basically most of the work. Or you do industrials. I actually did a sexual education video.
Oh wow,
And
okay.
then my high school picked it up, and
Oh,
my
awkward.
clarification was I didn't have like an STD or something in the sexual education video, but I was a prude and I was afraid of sex. So I'm literally like in my high school, like I'm afraid of sex, and they were playing it in my high school. It was so embarrassing.
So
Um,
your earlier stuff that you just mentioned, did you ever work with any puppets back then? Like nothing that led to your career now, where you work with a lot
No,
of
no
puppets.
puppets. No. Well, I will say this, their production was super tiny. So I remember even one time I held my own like reflector lights to imagine everybody there. There was no puppets or dolls, no. But I almost booked some big movies like What Woman Wants. Like, so there were certain movies that came to Colorado. They would do like, like United States kind of going around. And then I was like, so my grandma lived in California. So we came to vacation. I was like, I need to get an agent. So I
Mhm.
got one, and I was like, Mom, this is my senior year of high school. We need to move to California. My mom's like, you are not moving unless your principal tells you that you can move and you can still graduate at the same school and I was like, okay, great. So I had a meeting with my principal. I was like, can I just like go to California and can I just like still graduate here and do all this stuff? She's like, sure. I was like, woohoo! So I told my mom, I was like, we're moving to California. And Jessica Biel's mom was really helpful and basically kind of helped me like do this. But yeah, I mean the horror genre is just kind of like I started booking. I mean, Drake and Josh, I did that show and I did a bunch of episodes, but then I just started booking the horror. And it's like
Mhm.
once you're in that world, it's like the world finds you basically, you know, and you get a lot of opportunities and auditions and bookings. So it was like, you know, I guess this is my new world. And I love the horror genre, and the people when I go to these conventions are just so nice. Like the nicest people. It's like a family. Like you just feel like you're instant family, which
Mhm.
is the best, you know, the best thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like doing plays and being in that world really does sort of prep you for anything, because I feel like plays can be so outrageous, right? So many stories. I mean, horror movies can be outrageous, but sometimes you look at a play and the script, it's just like, what the hell is this, right? So that probably gets you ready for this world of horror. I don't know how you feel about that, but
Except
Yeah.
Gary Busey. It doesn't prepare
Yeah.
you for Gary Busey.
no.
Like real life horror. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting though, because in life, you know, some crazy stuff happens sometimes.
Mhm.
But I'm like, it's so, I'm always like, oh, this is like a movie. Like, you know, because like you're basically, when you're doing a horror movie, you're like living it, like
Yeah.
take after take. And it is scary stuff sometimes. Like, you know, and I definitely have nightmares while I'm filming for certain. Like, definitely. Yeah.
So when you I'm a big fan of Masters of Horror. A lot of genre fans are, and I thought that show was great. Um, when you did the episode, you were on Right to Die, correct?
Yeah. Good job.
So that one, what was that like coming on set? Was that to you, was that like a movie, or were they like, hey, this is an anthology? Like, how did that get
Oh, yeah.
presented to you at the time, I wonder?
Yeah. Well, because I auditioned for that one and it was like a movie. And I
Hmm.
didn't even know that it was a series until we were filming and there was like, oh, we're gonna have a party with all the other episodes. I was like, oh, wait, what? You know?
Hmm.
So I guess I didn't do my homework. But yeah, it was just it was done as a movie. It felt like a movie. We filmed it in Canada.
Hmm.
I have some some crazy stories. I don't know if I should tell them, but actually I should. So basically, my character in that show is basically I'm like kind of sexy and like kind of like I don't know, trying to win over this dude.
Hmm.
And they basically told me that if I really want to feel my character, I should go to a strip club and and experience what it's like to be at a strip club, which I had never been to, and I'm in Canada.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, okay, sorry, I moved my computer.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
So
and so
this was before Evil Bong then.
I
Probably
believe,
2004, 2005, maybe.
yeah, I think it was probably before. I don't, the chronological in my brain is like kind of, it's a blur. But yeah, so went to the strip club and yeah, I was like, well, I guess I need to experience my character. So they're like, oh yeah, you can come up on stage if you want, you can dance. It's just like you have to take off at least something. So I
Wow.
did. I did go on the stage at the strip club and I took off my top and then there was money being thrown into the stage. And I remember it's just when we were filming, it's just all I could think about is like, I really don't know that I just need to be with this guy so that I don't have to be on the strip club. And it really helped me. They told me I needed to do. I was like, okay, fine, I'll do this. But I do remember when you film in Canada, everybody stays at the same hotel,
Mhm.
and it's called the Sutton Hotel. And oops, sorry, I'm trying to make it. I may need to charge my computer. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Hey guys.
I think we're almost. Is that good? Oh wait, maybe not. Okay, I may need to go to a different charger. But so after these messages, so basically, everybody at the Sutton Hotel, they all stay there. So I remember like I was in the elevator and there's this dude. And he looks familiar, and we're like doing the back and forth thing, like, "Who are you?" You know? And he's like, and we're like, "Where do you live in LA?" Da, da, da. And by the bottom of the elevator is like, "Oh my God, it's Benicio del Toro." And then I was like, so we walked into this workout room, and this dude's like, yo, you don't know Benicio? Yo, he's the man, yo. And he said his name was Ice Cube, and I literally didn't know who Ice Cube was. And then later, I didn't know who Ice Cube is. So it was really interesting because it's like this whole, worlds where just people stay. And so it's kind of like surreal. But it was a super fun experience. I loved doing that movie. And Martin Donovan's amazing, and he made it super easy
Yeah.
to work.
Yeah, it's a great show, and it's one of those you could tell almost like Tales from the Crypt, where I could see actors coming in and not necessarily being told like, thinking it's a film, because it is like a film. Like the episodes are so long and it's not really short form. So that's yeah. I wanted to know also one more thing, and I know Jay's got some stuff to ask. You worked on ER for an episode. I just wanted to know, what was that like,
Yeah.
working on ER, getting to see the cast? It's been on for so long, and I think you were in a later season, correct?
Yeah, I don't know later or earlier, but yeah. But yeah, it was cool because I was just beginning to, so it was like, woohoo, like ER was like a big opportunity. And I remember my character, I was popular, and then there was a girl who was like not popular. This is the characters. And I think I like hit her in my car or something, and we had to go to the ER, and my legs were hurting or something, and I had to be on the stretcher. And I was so like kind of like method at that time, where I literally stuck a rubber band on my leg to feel. This is so weird. I don't do this anymore, but you grow as an artist. I literally put a rubber band so I could feel the pain. At the end of the day, like, had this whole like red mark of rubber bands on my leg, and I'm
You're
like,
doing the Daniel Day-Lewis treatment.
but it was super fun. It was super fun. I was really excited too, because I could tell people like, hey, in Colorado, look at ER. It's like one of my first things here. So it's super exciting.
Awesome. So
I'm gonna relocate my computer just because
relocate.
that plug is not working, and I don't want to lose you guys. So stay tuned with me. I'm gonna be moving. I hope you're not too dizzy.
Let's just turn it to an episode of MTV Cribs.
I know, it's like MTV Robin. Okay, there we go.
The Blair
Okay,
Witch
so-
Project.
I know.
I don't know if you actually said the words out loud, but I would assume Gary Busey is the scariest person you've encountered.
It is 100%.
So that leads me to ask, who's the nicest,
Oh, yeah.
kindest person that you've worked with? And you can't say Charles, that's cheating.
Wow, there's so many nice people. It's hard. It's literally such a hard question, because I feel like when you're filming, it's like the people you're working with, it's family, because you're hanging out with them. You're like there, you're sharing this like really intense bond, basically. The nicest person, I don't know. I can't answer that question because there's so many people. It's like a huge list. I mean, I just love the people I work with, except for maybe Gary Busey.
I had money on Michael Berryman.
Oh yeah, wow, so nice. I do have a funny Sid Haig story, because when we filmed that movie, Sid Haig, he ate strawberry Dannon yogurt in between this take.
Is this the Night of the Living Dead 3D thing?
No, it's the
not like
Haunted
the Living
Casino.
Dead. It was
Haunted Casino.
Casino.
Or Dead Man's Hand is another. I think it came out.
Yeah, it got
This was
changed
Dead
the
Man's
title.
Hand.
And literally, like, we go straight from him eating the strawberry ice cream to like, we're doing the take, and he licks my face in the scene. And it was literally like this strawberry Dannon yogurt chunky monkey on my face. It was like strawberry the rest of the day, and I tried to wipe it off, but it was like thick and Dannon yogurt. I do remember that. I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, Michael Berryman, Sid Haig, both those guys, super nice, such sweet people. And yeah, John Rinke, we got to work with him. Like, he has like no legs. I'm like, I don't even know how. And he brought like a tiger in his hat, a tiger whisker for Cody and I, and he's like gave it to us. And like, I don't know, just such nice people, really, honestly.
Yeah, it's good to hear. You just never know about people. The reason I asked about Michael Berryman is I actually just finished his memoir, and I don't know if you've read it, but it's amazing. So he just seems, I've met him once, and I'm like, that guy, he just seems like legit. Like some people are nice, but when you really get to know him, not so much. But he just was always up there for me. So I was just curious.
Yeah, so sweet, just like the sweetest dude, honestly. Yeah.
And then we'll wrap things up with just one more question. This is another tough one. This is what I like to ask guests is like, do you have a particular role that you favor more than the others? Like, is there one that's more near and dear to your heart that you've done or have coming up?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I feel like I always was kind of loving like the more challenging ones where it's like, you have a childhood that's all kind of messed up and you have to get through all this stuff. And that was always my go-to, but now I'm just loving being ditzy. Like, I don't know. I just really love it. It's just so fun. And I don't know. I do like complex characters where you don't really know, you think one thing and then it's really another. So there's a deep thing. Because that's just so much fun to like create when you're, prepping for a role. But I don't know. I'm just like loving being ditzy right now. Yeah. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's going to be a wrap on this episode. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to wherever you're listening to this podcast. Follow us on TikTok, on Instagram, join our Facebook group, and come back next week. Robin, thank you so much for taking some time with us. This was a lot of fun. Before we let you go, you have any projects coming up you want to let everybody know about?
Oh, yeah. Well, Barbie and Kendra Crash Joe Bob's Drive-In is coming out this year. And then we're going to film Barbenheimer in April, which I'm super excited about. And I get to play the part of Roz. So I'm really excited about that. So it's going to be super fun. So those are what's coming up.
All right, we're looking forward to it, especially Joe Bob, when we all love him dearly. So that'd be fun to watch. When you were doing that, did people know, like the ones that were there just to attend, did they like, are you guys filming? Did they follow you around and make any issues?
You mean when we were doing the Barbie and Kendra Crash Joe Bob's Drive-In?
Yeah.
I mean, because you were there with the camera crew and all the fans. So even in between the takes, they were, oh, can I get your autograph? Or, like it was such an exciting experience. It was so cool. But yeah, everybody knew because we were right there, like with everybody filming there at the event with cameras and everything.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tell Charlie we said hello.
I will.
Signing off, I'm Jay with John, Robin, and TJ. And until next time,
keep
Should
it
we do a group
spooky.
high five?
Oh, we could.
High five.
Let's do it. 3, 2, 1, boom.